Good.
Good morning.
Good morning. I've been hearing lots of success stories over the last couple of days. Anyone want to share some of the stuff that's been going on? I know we have our first capper of 2021 on the line. I know that Greta got herself a buyer under contract. Marquia's got about to get another buyer under contract. Heather Fowler took 2 listings this weekend. Who else wants to share?
That's awesome.
We're in multiple offers on my listing, and it's going to go 20 over asking, probably.
20 over asking. Which place is that again, Brian?
That's the townhouse that's in Sandy Springs.
You guys are going to go 20 over listing on that?
Yep.
So that's going to put it in what, the high 2s?
Yeah.
I swear, I remember when those places were selling for like $80,000. Oh my gosh. Should have bought like 5 of them.
Yep.
It's no surprise, guys. 75% of the country's wealth is tied up in real estate. That's and we're the middleman between the public and that. Don't forget that. All right, great job, Brian. I tell you, every person that you know should know that just happened, because that just shows you that the market is still really hot. I always thought in my research that there was a little bit of a soft spot for Sandy Springs in with townhomes. Me personally, it took me a long time to sell my townhome. Probably because I didn't listen to my own advice, but that's a different story altogether. It doesn't look like Pam's on the phone to give me a good laugh on that one. But it looks like the market is hot right now, guys. All right, who else wants to share some positive news? Greta, we'll come back to you, Brian. Ladies first.
So this week has been very epic for me. Apparently, if I want to get something done, I need to go out of town, because I have 2 under contract now. Both my buyers finally, after many, many contracts, have gone under. And then this morning, just since 7, you see I'm still in bed, but we've got a clear sewer scope. We've got radon back and it's being mitigated. We have inspections scheduled. We have everything is falling into place. Problems are being solved. And I feel like I'm on the Starship Enterprise, just coordinating everything from right here.
That is so awesome. I got to tell you, I've been listening to this guy, James Clear, that wrote Atomic Habits. I'm going to post that book a little bit this morning for you guys. It is just amazing. And what he talks about is that all of our habits, we don't rise to the level of our habits, we fall to the level of our systems. Okay. And what he talks about, Gary Keller talks a lot about too, is we feel like we are succeeding so slowly that we feel like we're failing. And I'm going to assume that, Greta, it's probably felt a little like that for the last couple months, hasn't it? And I just want to publicly say that I think that you have persevered, and not that it hasn't had, bad days. We all have bad days, but you have come into work the next day and just kept at it. And I am super proud of you. This is that is probably the biggest step in your ability to grow a big business, is being able to put up with the crappy days and know that all of the little things that you do are causing the next step to happen. James Clear he says it's kind of like, let's say you put an ice cube on a counter, and the ice cube is 35 degrees, and then it's 34 degrees and nothing happens, and then it's 32 degrees and nothing happens, right? Or actually, I'm sorry, it should be the other way around. 25 degrees, 26 degrees. And the second that it goes from, let's say 30 to 31, nothing happens, right? But when it goes from 32 to 33, it melts, right? And all the little changes along the way led to that thing that kind of looks like an overnight success, right? Somebody could come to you and say, hey, what are you, some overnight success? And you look at them, you're like, don't even go there, right? Congratulations, Greta. 2 buyers under contract. Good for you. Good for you. Brian, what else? What would you like to share, sir?
On top of going over offers on the listing, I helped one of the top agents in our office host an open house that is actually in my neighborhood. And I added like 10 neighbors to my database. I mean,
Okay, can you tell us a little bit more about how that happened? What did those conversations, how did those conversations get initiated? What did you do to gather their contact information? What kind of value did you share with them? And guys, I want you to listen for the teaching moment here, because in every conversation we have with an adult, there's an opportunity for you to forge a relationship where they may come to you should they have a need in real estate or even a question, right? So Brian, can you go into a little bit more detail about that, please?
Yeah, so we tried to spend a little bit of time door knocking on Friday. We only got like half an hour in. So all of my neighbors around me ended up showing up, and then a bunch of other neighbors that live close to this listing showed up as well. And then just through normal conversation, you know, hey, do you guys live in the neighborhood? And that's just like a normal open house question. And it's yes. And so I obviously got to show off like I live in the neighborhood too. So, and then like obviously some recognized us from being in the playground or walking around the neighborhood as well. So just normal open house scripts.
And those are just basic questions like you might ask on a buyer intake sheet, right?
The most basic, yes.
How long have you lived here? What do you love most, right? How the kids doing? Do you have children that go to school in the area? You know, these kind of questions, right?
Yes.
That is amazing. Awesome. Candace, you look like you have a big smile on your face. You like you want to share something. Come on. Let us hear some nuggets of wisdom.
I'm just sitting here listening to the growth that's happening in this group, and it's just really exciting to me. I'm blown away by you all, and I always say this, but I can visualize what this time next year looks like, and it's going to be amazing because of the growth that you're doing right now, and because of the way that you're just showing up and doing what you're supposed to do, which is just, it's not that hard. It's mind, it really is mindset, but you guys are doing it. So I'm thrilled about that. I can't tell you, it's exciting to be in business with you.
Yeah. Like Gary says, success is simple. It's just not easy, right? All you got to do is do what this piece of paper says. It's just not easy to do it all the time, right? Okay, anyone else want to share before we move into the content of today? Okay, we are gearing up, guys. I think we are one closing away, which we should have, no question. We've got a couple more this month. We will have our best month that productivity coaching in Roswell has ever had in almost every category from a result standpoint, from closings to GCI to company dollar to, I'm just so proud of you guys. You guys are rocking it. So a couple of housekeeping pieces, then we'll move into our into the heart of today. So we are going to do we're in the process of organizing a 15-minute kind of business review, if you will, for every single person in the group. Okay. I feel like what we've got here is we've built up our group to a point where there's a lot of things that are needed or desired, and I'm not positive I know about all of them, and I'm not positive that Candace knows about all of them. So what we would like to do in an effort to make sure that we're servicing you at the level you want to be serviced at, and continue to, you know, kind of foresee how we need to make adjustments to the program in the future, we're going to be sending out invitations for each of you guys to reserve a 15-minute slot. Candace and I will be in the room. We've got a series of questions to ask you. We can do it in person or over Zoom, whatever works for you. And what we're trying to do is just get a much better feel for kind of how things are going, and to make sure that you know and what we think are the next most important things for you to take care of in the business, and for you to share some of your feedback and advice to us on making the program be a constant fit for you guys. Okay. And I'm really excited to see some of the things that are going to come out of those meetings, and we're going to be combining that with a lot of the things that we have changed or we're about to change from our meeting with the PC coaches all over the country during spring masterminds. So we have a couple of hours available this Friday and a couple of hours available the following Wednesday. We'll be opening up some other times real soon, but we are going to hold off on the launch and the growth masterminds this week. As a result, we will still have the coffee meetings, and we're editing the calendar now. I'll send you out a fancy calendar this morning. Okay. Let me just double check. Oh, one other thing. Make sure, please, that you have the team meeting on your calendar tomorrow from 11 to 1. It's going to be a little longer team meeting as we're going to do the annual awards. So it's going to be fun. There's going to be, I think we're going to broadcast it on Zoom, but we are going to be like in the parking lot, and I think there's going to be a tent and all this kind of cool stuff. So please make sure that you're able to come, or at least able to tune in. We'd love an opportunity to see you, actually, because there's some of you guys I don't know if I've ever met in person, which is kind of crazy to think about. But
And Bill, I just want to add that Aaron and the staff have all asked, they've sent out emails requesting RSVP so they can plan a little bit.
yes, yeah, because I think we're feeding everyone or something, right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, my goal for today was to do some scripts and role play. Are there any, and normally what happens is I end up doing it. So who wants to be the brave one today? And you can either work with another agent or work with Candace or myself. Let's kind of work on some of the scripts that you guys have had a hard time with lately, or maybe some objections that you'd like to review the responses to. Talk to me a little bit about what are some of the dialogues and scripts that you want to work on a little bit this morning. Not all at the same time, no.
I'd love to hear something around, I've got a meeting with a guy who's adamant that he wants to sell his home on his own.
Okay.
But I had an end, I was going to take my buyer, but now my buyer's under contract. So I still want to get in there because I think he may be underpricing his home a little bit.
Interesting. And okay, so let's play that. So far you've only had a telephone conversation with them or something else?
It was a door knock. I met him and I was like, I heard you're considering listing. I found out his motivation is he's moving to be with his wife who's ill up north. And he's not sure of his time frame. He knows what he wants. He's, his house is perfect, and he's it's kind of like, I'll honor a buyer fee, but I'm not going to use an agent. I'm going to sniff around and, get a buyer that way. So.
Okay, great. All right, let me make a just one side comment on that. So remember that when we approach a for sale by owner, which essentially this guy is a for sale by owner, like he's kind of en route to being a for sale by owner. What they believe is that all they have to do, especially in this market, what they believe is that all they got to do is stick the home on the market and they'll get flooded with activity. Okay. And so they say, well, if you bring a buyer, Mr. Real Estate Agent or Mrs. Real Estate Agent, then I'll compensate you. And so a lot of times we rush towards that direction, right? Maybe I can go bring my friend and pose as a buyer, or my wife and pose as a buyer. And I did it. I did it just once, but I did do it. And what we're doing is we are substantiating their belief, which is all I got to do is stick it on the market and I'll get all these realtors to go work for me to find a buyer, and then I'll get paid to help the buyer. You could do that, but that again is substantiating their belief that all they got to do is marketing. So you can kind of go in a completely opposite direction. And this is what you just suggested, Greta, is proof of that, which is to say, hey, I was looking at some of the data and, Mr. Seller, I think there may be a way that you could sell your home for more than you're currently listing it for. I'm going to be in your area tomorrow at 2. Could I swing by and, take a closer look at your home, make sure there's nothing unusual there, because I think you might be able to get more. And I'd like to share some data with you on that. Right. So this guy would have to be weird in the head not to agree to that kind of appointment. Right. So the question is not, am I going to get an offer? The question is, am I going to get the right offer, right? And am I going to agree to things that are typical or standard or normal, right? So Greta, he might say, well, all I got to do is stick it on the market and I'll get a bunch of buyer's agents that run around town looking to find me a buyer, and I'll get an offer that way. So I think you're right. You probably will get an offer. That's actually not what I'm worried about at all. What I'm worried about is that you're protected the entire way, that you're netting the most number of dollars, right? That you have protections in the contract for contingencies and what happens if the buyer does a number of things, and that you're not agreeing to something that is not necessary for you to agree to. So you're right. Give them, like, you remember, people want to look good and be right. So make them, don't fight them on the phone, because you're never going to get the appointment if you fight them on the phone, right? So just say, hey, I get it. I think you're right. You probably will get an offer. But if you don't mind me sharing, that's actually not really my concern at all. My concern is that you're not going to get the best offer, and that you may not be taking advantage of the type of market that we find ourselves in right now. And just a quick couple minutes of research shows me that you actually may be underpricing your home. And I'd like to share that with you. When is the best time to connect, to meet in person, right? So I never really liked the approach of, let me go find a buyer for you. Again, it's substantiating the fact that their belief is right. And if you don't even have a buyer, at some point you're going to feel this need to like switch it up and try to be their listing agent, and it just doesn't feel right? And they can feel it too. So you want to go and ask them the questions, and then create doubt and curiosity around their answers, right? So this guy's got a wife that is not well up north, and he wants to trade maybe a few $1,000s and being stubborn down here all alone. And we already see there's some cracks in his theory, right? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So Mr. Seller, tell me a little bit more about how you came to your price. These are for sale by owner scripts, right? How long has your wife been up there and you've been down here? You can ask, the answer to that doesn't really matter too much, but when he answers it, he's going to remind himself that he doesn't live near a woman who he's married to who's not well. Does that make sense? So you might ask, well, what I find is that, I think the statistic is around 90%. 90% of for sale by owners ultimately end up listing with an agent. So I'm just curious, how long will it take you of being unsuccessful before you consider hiring a real estate agent, right? Or I know you want to sell the home yourself. Let me ask you, do you have is there a time that you have in mind that you will end up hiring a real estate agent? Or you could say something to the degree of, I'm sure you're going to sell the home yourself, but if by chance you end up not selling the home by yourself, is there anything in particular you're looking for in a real estate agent should you decide to hire them? Good, Candace, it sounded like you wanted to say a few.
Yeah, I went on a for sale by owner appointment this weekend, and I went in with I'm tied to a group of investors, meaning Keller Offers. And so I can get you a cash offer. And as I walk, and that also, full disclosure, I'm a licensed real estate professional, so I can offer you some other options as well. And as I walk through the home, because I'm representing the investors, I need to take pictures of what might need to be repaired, because that's what they're looking at. And I could tell that made them very uncomfortable. That I said, your home is really gorgeous, but these are some of the things that investors are going to look at: some of the new carpeting, the kitchen appliances, which were white. The home was built in 1979 and hasn't been updated. So at the end, they were like, well, will you come back next week? And I was like, sure, I'll come back next week. And it'll take me about 72 hours to get you an offer, but I'll also bring back another option for you, which will be the list option. And so that gives us a whole new script, I think.
Yeah, that's a totally different approach, which I really like. And remember that when you bring in that Keller Offers offer, and they say, gosh, this appears to be a bit low, say, you guys aren't at odds. You guys need to think of yourself on the same team, right? So yes, this is an I buyer. This is somebody who is going to buy the home, relieve you of the stress, do whatever work is necessary, market it, and pay the cost of selling it. And they're in business for a profit. So they are going to be buying the home for less than fair market value. This is one option, okay? Some people take advantage of this when they have a situation where the convenience is more important than the money. So Mr. Seller, do you think is the convenience more important than the money for you? Right? And they will say, yes. And then you can move them forward with that. Or they'll say, no, I don't really care about the convenience. I'd rather have as many nickels as I can possibly get. Okay, great. So just like Candace suggested, so let's talk about option 2, which is let's do a thorough market analysis and make sure you're planning to market this at the appropriate price, right? Because let's say it's a $400,000 home. The Keller offers might come in at 340, right? But if the guy's listing it for 380, but he could list it for 400 and maybe even get multiple offers, right? Then it makes more sense to market it with full exposure, right? You could say, so tell me, what's the experience been like? Trying to market and sell this property yourself. What's the experience been like? Right? And more than likely, unless they're under contract, they're going to start complaining right away. Which is, like these buyers, they say they're coming at 3, but then they don't show up. These agents call at the last second and want to come and look at it. This agent comes and then he pretends like he's got a buyer. That drives me insane. Okay, well now you better not play that one, right? So if you ask them about what they've been experiencing, you can figure out what they probably more often than not find out what they're not excited about or what they don't want you to do versus what they do want you to do. But if they say, gosh, these agents, they don't give any feedback after they show the home, then go and write a really cool email giving a bunch of feedback, right? Find out what's not happening, what they're not experiencing, and then give it to them because that's what they ultimately desire. Does that make sense? Now, all these questions that we've been asking, they're not really salesy at all. They're just simply asking questions about, hey, tell me more about this. What's important to you about being up north with your wife? Well, she's dying. I want to go spend some more time with her. I understand. I totally understand. So what it sounds to me like getting up to New York as quickly as possible is the most important thing for you. Am I hearing that correctly? Yes. Right. And so you're creating this, or you're clarifying the need, and then you're repeating it, and then you are providing yourself as the solution to that. So we went over a few different directions, Greta, that you could take with that. Do you feel like we answered your question?
Yes, I mean, absolutely.
Okay. Now, I think the biggest point here is that you want to make sure that you're on the same team as the seller, right? It's not, well, I think this and you think that. It's let's talk together about how, look, I'm a real estate agent. I work every day looking for buyers for my sellers and sellers for my buyers and to help people in the community build wealth. So I'm just curious, what can I do for you? Right? Do you have any question? I mean, if you're trying to sell the home by yourself, it's pretty complex. Do you have any questions? Are you looking for a vendor that maybe you don't have a great referral for? Maybe I can help you with that. You need a painter, you need a mason guy, you need a landscaper. I can help. What can I do for you today? Right? Because I'm going to tell you that according to the research, for sale by owners are going to hire the agent who is number 1, most helpful, and number 2, most persistent. Okay. And just understand, guys, that they may sell the home themselves. Okay. And I've talked to a lot, like Julian Harris has been calling FSBOs for a long time. Like they get offers. Okay. So the fastest you can, you want to let them know that getting an offer is not the goal. It's getting the right offer. That's the goal. And then having somebody to coach them and hold their hand through the rest of the process to make sure that they're making sophisticated choices every step of the way. But if this guy ends up having to like travel to, you know, up north to visit his wife and get on a plane and take the risks of that and therefore not be available to show the home when at the last minute when a buyer wants to see it, they're going to miss out on opportunities. Right? Have you missed out on any opportunities showing the home when you're off doing whatever you do? Right? If you got a good rapport with them, I always like asking the question, which I'm a little pushy, but you know, hey, what's your favorite part about being a realtor? What's your least favorite part about being a realtor? I'm not a realtor. You're acting like one, right? You're trying to market and sell a home. So it looks like you're a realtor. What do you love about it? What do you hate about it? I'm here to help you. I got a lot of connections. What can I do to help? Okay, any other let's maybe pick one more topic. Who wants to explore some more dialogues? Anyone? Everyone's mastered real estate, huh? So let me go back to one thing that Brian mentioned earlier. So Brian, you basically initiated some conversations with some neighbors, and they may or there's probably at least one neighbor that didn't have any question or need or whatever. So how did you end up? What did you have to offer them in order to get their contact information, and what did you promise to them or suggest to them to be allowed to communicate with you in the future?
Down there?
Yeah, I lost you with,
Oh, so
I don't know if I'm having internet connection.
so basically, you ended up getting 10 people's contact information, right? So, you know, if I were to call you and say, hey, Brian, can I put you on my mailing list? If somebody were to call me and say that, I'd be like, yeah, I don't think so. Just make sure I have your cell phone number in case I need something. I don't really want to be on in your database. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So sometimes
So
we have to get over that hump. So what did you offer or what did you say so that a random stranger is willing to receive, you know, ongoing messaging from you?
yeah, well, neighbors are always going to be curious of what their home is worth. And so if I offer to update them on the progress of how this one sells, you know, that usually gets any type of information that I need.
Yeah. I heard a line this weekend. It's kind of connected to the golden letter, right? Remember the golden letter is, would you sell your home to one of our buyers? Or the golden text, super straightforward, you know, very vague. Would you consider selling your home to one of our buyers? One of our buyers, by the way, could be one of the buyers in the productivity coaching group. It could be one of the buyers that one of our agents has in Roswell. Like it's relatively vague. It doesn't mean that like your specific buyers who you have a signed buyer brokerage agreement with. It can be relatively vague. Another way of asking that is to say something to the effect of, you know, is there a magic number that you would want to get for your home in order to consider moving, right? It's like, let's say your home's worth 400 and I say, would you be willing to sell? The first thing that pops into my mind is, would I be willing to sell for market value, which is 400, which is not really, right? But if somebody says, well, is there a magic number that if you could sell your home for blank, you would consider a move? Maybe that number is 450. So if somebody were to come and be interested in, if you could get 450 for the home, you would move? Yeah, potentially, great. So now I'm monitoring that person and the values in their neighborhood, because as soon as it gets to 450 or as soon as it gets close to 450, then we've got something to talk about. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Brian, did you offer the neighborhood nurture so some of that stuff can be automated? Some of that communication over time can be automated?
Yeah.
You're not We're not getting good response or good reception here.
Yes.
Remember, if you guys aren't familiar with the neighborhood nurture product from Command,
So, you know, it's surprising
what?
amount of people in my neighborhood are actually
Oh, you're real fuzzy, man. Go back to where you were a second ago. Can you hear me? Now you're on mute.
Yeah, I haven't moved. I have bad connection. I don't know what's going on.
Stay right there.
Sorry.
Stay right there. So the neighborhood nurture, guys, is a system where you can set up home searches by neighborhood, specific neighborhood. So if you lived in, let's say, Horseshoe Bend or something, then you can see all of the communities or all the home sales and pendings and actives in that community, and it's all automated, and you can get that report every 2 weeks or every month. So I would highly suggest go on YouTube and type in KW Command Neighborhood Nurture, learn about the product itself and how to set it up, and maybe set, you know, yourself up or set a friend up. Hey, we got this new technology. Would you mind if I connected you with it? And you'll get an update on all the home sales in your area or in your specific neighborhood, which is something that you can't do with a lot of other mobile apps. And you can see all the activity that's happening, and we can do it every 2 weeks or every month. Which would you prefer? Right. And another cool thing that that I've seen people do is they could monitor any area all across the country. So let's say like, hey, I'm really want to buy a home in you know, the Rocky Mountains, or, you know, outside of the ski resorts or whatever, maybe one day. Okay, well, I can put in a couple of neighborhoods in Colorado and see what the market's like over there. And, or I could say, hey, you know, I grew up in this little neighborhood over near North Lake Mall. I wonder what's going on over there. Or I grew up in this neighborhood in Missouri. I wonder what's going on there. And it just gives people an opportunity to be voyeurs. They naturally want to learn more about the real estate market. Houses are pretty to look at, and the data is fun to evaluate. Okay. All right. Anyone else want to share anything today? All right, be on the lookout. I'm going to send out these one-on-one invites little at a time. So be on the lookout for that invitation. And I'm, again, as Candace said, I am super, super proud of everyone. You guys are committed to putting in the work every single day. And we are very, very proud of you. I want to mention one final quote that I heard during Masterminds, which is, without a plan, sometimes distractions look like opportunities.
Oh,
Without a plan, sometimes distractions look like opportunities. Okay, so as you go about your day, I want you to, you know, when you hang up on this call, the first thing you should do is go look at your plan. So if you don't have a plan, call me right now. Okay, or call Candace right now. No more days go on without you having a plan, right? Sound good? Beautiful, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
have a great day. Happy Monday.